Okay. So we're going to do part 3, exercise 6. You're going to underline each independent clause. With 10 packs to a box is actually a dependent clause. And then that was 30 butterscotch crimpets is an independent clause. Okay? Because that was 30 butterscotch crimpets is actually a sentence by itself. When Maniac finally forced himself from the shower, he found the old man waiting with clothes. This is a dependent clause because it begins with the word when. This one begins with. On Google Classroom, I put a resource that has subordinate conjunctions in there to help you start to learn to recognize those words. He found the old man waiting with clothes is a complete sentence. A tiny idea was beginning to worm its way into Grayson's head is a complete sentence. Then you have a semicolon, which tells you there's going to be an independent clause before and an independent clause after. He could barely feel it as it brushed by all the claptrap in his brain. That is an independent clause. So this one you have independent clause and independent clause. Okay? Number 4, the old man just looked at him for a while with a mixture of puzzlement and recognition. That is an independent clause. Comma, as though the fish had landed, he had landed might be the same one he had thrown away long before. As though is one of those subordinate conjunctions. So this is an incomplete sentence or a dependent clause right here. As though the fish he had landed might be the same one he had thrown away the night before. Okay. Exercise 7. Underline each dependent clause. Some sentences may not contain a dependent clause. If you are bad is a dependent clause. Let your mother or father tell you. Okay. He loved joining all the colors at the vacant lot and playing the summer days away. That does not have a dependent clause. There's no subordinate conjunctions in there. Number 3, he was there for dinner. That is an independent clause. Now let me do this. Independent clause, independent clause. This, when Hester and Lester pushed their chairs alongside his, is a dependent clause. It relies on the rest of the sentence. Number 4, that's the way it was for a long time. Independent clause. Until Maniac arrived. You've got a subordinate conjunction, and then until Maniac arrived is a dependent clause. Okay. Number 5, Maniac loved almost everything about his new life. That is a independent clause all by itself. No subordinate conjunctions. Number 8, this one's a little bit odd. So 10 kids scrambled onto the field. Independent clause. Bringing him the hat and ball is a dependent clause. You know this is divided because of the comma right here. Strike 3 took dead aim at the kid's knees. So that's an independent clause. And then, and here was the kid swooping back at the same time, swatting the ball like a golfer teeing off. This is a coordinating conjunction. And so, where did it go? Over here. It's one of the fanboys. And so we're going to pretend it's not really there. And we're actually going to call this an independent clause because of that. This is an independent clause. And then over here, same thing with that. It was the craziest baseball swing you ever saw, but there was the ball smoking out to center field. That is independent clause. And this is independent clause. So, because these are fanboys. So you're going to pretend they're not part of the phrase there. Okay, and that is that station.